Hello everybody. I was just having tea and I was reading Symphytum along with it from Dr. Emil Tyler's Materia Medica. She has this book, Homeopathic Drug Pictures by Dr. Emil Tyler, which is very beautifully written. And I was reading Symphytum from it, and in under Symphytum, she actually very beautifully has differentiated or compared various remedies which are for injury, and that I found it to be really very helpful, amazing, beautiful to read, and I thought I would like to share it with you all. So, while reading it, we see what she talks about under Symphytum is first that it is a healing herb. Okay, it is comfrey, it is called as comfrey, and it is a healing herb, and it is one of the invaluable remedy for smashed and bruised humanity. So, smash and bruise. So these are the like ailments from that lead to injury in this remedy. So in homeopathy, we obviously have various injury remedies, and Dr. Emil Tyler also says that these remedies, even we have many remedies for extravasations, for bruises, and these are all priceless. Okay, and anybody can be helpful. Like any one remedy on the list will be helpful in any and every case. Okay, so in any and every case, because all the injury remedies do have bruised kind of sensation, but in homeopathy we do have characteristic symptoms or ailments from to be different for various different remedies. In the same way, when we talk about arnica, we see that there is more of contusions. Okay, and even when we talk about calendula, it is more of a cut, right? When we talk about hypericum, it is more of a laceration, injury, torn, the skin being torn. So we need to also understand what is the ailments from that is leading to injury. So in Symphytum she writes smashed and bruised. So smash, okay, kind of blow is important ailments from in Symphytum, or important thing that leads to injury in Symphytum. Now when she differentiates the beautiful remedies, she first of all she says that it may be useful to set forth the marked features of a few of the most common of these god gifts for pain and disability. So homeopathy is so beautiful. It is like a god gift because the medicine help patients with pain, with disability, and they help them to such a great extent that if homeopathy weren't there, what would have happened is something that you feel when you read this. So she starts by talking about Arnica montana first. Okay, and while talking about it, she says that Arnica montana, whose very name emphasizes its habitat and functions, it is the falkraut of the mountains, and especially valuable for the repair of soft parts. So the area involved, or the part involved, or the region, or the action that this remedy has is on the soft parts. Okay, and its great action is also on the blood and the blood vessels. So this is also that we have to remember, something we should remember. It is invaluable for combating the effects of shock. So ailments from shock, which can be mental or physical, any kind of shock, any kind of overexertion, strain, sprain, is something that we see in arnica. Arnica is so sore all over and so tender to touch as to be in terror of approach. So this is a very important symptom of arnica, as we all know. They do not want to be approached because the pain is so much that they don't want to be touched, because they think that the pain will increase on being touched. That is what we call as tender, right? Now it is used internally or always, and also externally, provided the skin is not broken, as we've already discussed a little bit about this, that arnica is used in contusions in which you don't see a kind of cut, but it is just a blood clot that has formed under the skin, and the blood is not extravasated out, because it is a kind of a very hard a smash or very hard blow that has happened, but not a kind of cut in the skin. So here she says that in this, it is the skin is no, not broken usually when you give arnica, and if it is, you do not apply arnica externally, you try to apply the other remedies better, because they are saying, she's saying that there is this arnica has several reputation for provoking inflammation of an erysipelatous nature, like that. So next we go on to the remedy calendula, which is again a very beautiful remedy, and it is marigold. So the flowers are actually what are used to make calendula, and in calendula we see that which in addition to its ample vulnerary qualities stimulates life mechanisms to the prevention or cure of sepsis. So this is a very important thing in calendula. Sepsis meaning pus, okay, meaning a lot of infection leading to pus formation, etc. So it can prevent formation of pus, and it can also cure formation of milk. If the pus is already formed, it will help in the absorption of the pus, and it might even prevent it in the starting, in the first place. Now greatly esteemed in the surgery and the midwifery of homeopaths is what she has to say, because we can very, because there are, even in surgery we give clean cuts, and wherever we have clean cuts we can obviously use calendula for, so that the granulation tissue forms very nicely, and we have no pus while the wound is healing, like the incision wound is healing. So calendula is very commonly used for such situations, right? Then we talk about the third remedy that she tells us about is Bellis parens. Okay, so Bellis is the common daisy. So right now we were talking about calendula, which is marigold, and Bellis is common daisy. So Gul Bahar in Hindi. And so it is our indigenous arnica. Because arnica is something that grows on mountains, no, it is not something that grows like wherever you are living. So it's generally on mountains, but Bellis parens is the common daisy. It's like a weed growing anywhere. So it's our indigenous arnica, and the grand remedy for injuries and sprains, again, which are like those of arnica, very tender to touch. Again, like arnica, Bellis affects blood vessels, and like hypericum, nerves. So we see here that in Bellis spur we find the action on blood vessels like in arnica, plus the action on nerves like in hypericum. Both these things are present in Bellis spur. It also is also precious for its effects on the mammae when indurations persist after blows. So there's injury, there's blows that happens to the mammae, and then tumor formation takes place, hardening of the tissue takes place, and that is when we can also think of Bellis spur. Next remedy she talks about is hypericum. So hypericum is again a marvelous remedy for the comfort and relief of pierced, torn or injured parts, rich in nerves. Obviously, as we've seen over here, also nerves, hypericum, so rich in nerves such as lips. Okay, so she tells us that she had seen a torn lip, okay, with some loss of tissue, healed in a few hours by hypericum. So lip is such a place where there are many nerves, right? Lip is a soft tissue, but there are many nerves involved, and when that kind of situation, that kind of region gets torn, gets injured, gets pierced, and there is a lot of pain, okay, because there are a lot of nerve endings involved, then hypericum is the best remedy to be given. Now fingertips also whose fine nerve endings are wound round little hard touch corpuscles in order that the slightest impact shall be registered. So whichever place in your body has a lot of nerves and it gets torn, injured, pierced, you can think of hypericum. And one such example is fingertips along with lips, okay. Now, hypericum relieves nerve pain, often excruciating, obviously, because nerve is something that carries sensation, so nerve pains are always excruciating. It is usually in injuries to spine, even of long ago, and to coccyx, as in a recent case of persistent coccygeal pain, when later inquiry evoked the answer, "Oh, that's gone." So the patient had coccygeal pain and he was given hypericum, and that really helped the patient. It was completely gone. The next remedy she talks about is ruta. So ruta, she says, has elicited improving bruised sensation all over. Again, bruised sensation is there as is in all the remedies, all over, as from a fall or blow, with soreness of parts on which he lies, like in arnica, and a great remedy of bruises and injuries to bones and periosteum. So this is the sphere of action. So when we're talking about arnica, like when Emil Tyler had written over here about arnica, she told us that the sphere of action is the soft parts, is the blood and blood vessels, right? And here in ruta, she is saying that the sphere of action is the bones and the periosteum, right? Of sprains, of periostitis, pains in consequence of external injuries with erysipelatous inflammation. Bone lesions and fractions. So, bone lesions and fractures. Ruta is also a great eye remedy like Symphytum. Okay, eye strain and loss of power in eye muscles. So there is a very famous symptom of ruta in which sewing, or you sew the clothes, and in that very fine needle work, etc., is involved. And if somebody is doing that and that is leading to headache or eye ache, okay, then ruta is a very important remedy. Or when you're reading small text like the font is very small and you get headache or eye ache, then again Ruta is very helpful. Next and finally, she comes to Symphytum, and there is one more remedy that she talks about, especially for burns. After this, which is on the next page, and we'll go to that. But let's first learn about Symphytum, in which she says that this is specific for injuries caused by, not by sharp stabbing instruments. So, like we first discussed, in homeopathy, even if all the injury remedies are perfect for, can be given for any and every case of injury, but still there are certain characteristics for every remedy. So in Symphytum, it is not any sharp stabbing instrument like it might be in Hypericum, because in Hypericum there is an injury, like there is a pierce, like the skin is getting pierced, the skin is getting torn, so there has to be a sharp instrument. In Cannula there has to be a sharp instrument because there is a clean incised wound, right? But not so in Symphytum. In Symphytum, it is a sharp stabbing instrument, but by blow, not a sharp stabbing instrument, but by blows or from blunt masses a damage but fail to penetrate. So it does not go inside, it just gives a blow from the outside. Okay, and especially for blows on the eyeball. Again, it is obviously we all know it is a great remedy for fractures and of fractures that fail to unite, and it is also important for periosteum and bone, like we talked about in Ruta. So the sphere of action in Ruta was also the periosteum and the bone, and in Symphytum also it is the periosteum and the bone. Moving on to the next page, we see that she first of all says that in case of fractures you should ensure position and immobility, and the nothing else has to be given to the patient except Symphytum, and Symphytum will very beautifully help in the callus formation and the healing of the fracture. Now the next remedy is Urtica urens, so the common stinging nettle, and this is something that she gives for burns. It has marvelous properties in regards to burns, especially the more or less superficial, because we see that there are many nerve endings involved in the superficial layer of the skin. Why? Because we need to sense, right? So there are many nerve endings involved here, and when the burn is very superficial, the nerve endings are very irritated. The nerve endings get injured. Like if the nerve is cut, then the sensation will not be there because nerve is itself cut down. But over here what happens is the nerve is not completely cut, but it is just irritated, it is just injured a little bit, and that causes a lot of pain and lot of torture it is actually. So nettle with its marvelous properties in regards to burns, especially the more or less superficial and therefore the most painful. Yeah, so the manner in which the pain is instantly banished and healing starts forthwith needs to be seen to be realized. Okay, now just see this. Okay, from a thankful heart, one is constrained to repeat Hahnemann's acknowledgement, God's great gift, homeopathy. Right? It's very beautiful. It's very beautiful. This homeopathy is really God's great gift, because only with homeopathy we are able to help so many patients with so many types of injuries, so many types of diseases, and it's really beautiful. Okay, so that's what I wanted to share with you all. Thank you so much.